So there is a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump on Saturday. And my thoughts on this, again, this is not okay whatsoever. This is the second time, and mainstream media is still trying to word the rhetoric. The rhetoric is being pushed that he did this on himself. How in the world did he do that? Did he ever call anyone Hitler like the mainstream media does? I would beg to differ to anybody who, okay, if someone is going to say that, it's his fault. He brought it upon himself. Think about it this way. Let's look back in high school terms, right? Because literally all of this drama is very high school. And you need to put yourself in the position where you are the outsider. You're the wild card, right? Because that's what Trump is known as. He's known as the outsider. He was not a politician, okay? Now, think about it this way. It's like there's the big clique that has been around and has been ruling the school for a long time. And this other person wins. You win like a homecoming king, homecoming queen, whatever. The big head honchos that have been ruling the school for a long time, they don't want to lose their power, right? They will spread gossip. Have you ever had somebody spread gossip and complete flat out lies about you to others? And because they have the ability to talk to more people, they know more people, they were the first ones there. I've been a victim of that as well, actually, in high school, believe it or not. So I know what that feels like, to be completely lied about. And there's not much you can really do, right? Especially when everyone else has a higher, maybe, bigger voice. And you can only hope that some will speak out about it. Otherwise, your reputation is tarnished. This is exactly what has been happening to Trump from the very first time that he started running in 2016, and then when he won, which they were not anticipating. They did not think that it would actually happen. They thought it was a joke. That's why they just didn't really make it serious. It ended up happening. So, and then now, it's like you can see these patterns in the media so easily, where after Biden, got into office and stuff, they were still talking about Trump. They were still following him around. They were still talking about him. He was still at the center, right? But they weren't trying to they were also doing lawfare, which is still going on right now. But now in the ends of this, we're getting towards the end, right? They're starting to ramp up the same violent, abusive, hateful rhetoric about this man yet again, calling him a threat to democracy. He's a racist. Look at his racist rhetoric. Look at he's a Hitler-esque. He's a dictator. And they all say the same things too. They will always say the same quotes, the same talking points in every big media organization, like CBS, NBC, MSNBC, ABC, CNN, all those, BBC, all those big corporations that are basically funded by the neocons of the world are all saying the same things. So I would say that this is actually the fault of the media. It's not his fault. All he's been trying to do is to defend himself. Now, is he perfect? No, he's absolutely not. And no one is perfect either, okay? He definitely, his reactions to certain things definitely are not correct majority of the time, because the way he reacts to them are not very mature. So, but he really does want to, this is how I would look at this. No one is perfect, right? So let's look at that. where someone has a strength in one area, whether it's wanting to actually help, knowing, having a good business mind mentality, knowing how to make money, and I really think he wants to help the US create money again, which points to our economy. It's like a business. The economy is the business structure of our country. He knows how to run a company, okay? And then people can say, oh, well, he was born into it. Now, okay, have you ever heard of the term where people are born into money, but that is just generational wealth, but they can lose it? The generational wealth, if they don't know how to continuously create more money, it will diminish. He was given some money, but he learned and knew how to create more and keep it going and build it higher, bigger. I mean, you would do the same thing, wouldn't you? Or don't tell me that if you were in that position that you wouldn't want to build it up. You wouldn't want to be successful. That doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand the hypocrisy that people have. It's just very hypocritical. But it's just, I'm just at this point where the hypocrisy is so thick, and it's like there's people who just don't know how to look at the other side or put if the shoe was on the other foot, they don't know how to do that. They can't break out of their TDS. They can't break out of their delusion, their hive mind. They want to be cool. That's why, because it's all about wanting to be cool. I don't want to be in the outsider group. I want to be cool. I want to follow the trend. It's just, sheep, complete sheep. I'm not saying that I am fully on board with everything that Trump is about, because he's imperfect, remember? And we're not supposed to put anyone on a pedestal. But you can still point out the hypocrisy and not be looked at as, oh, you're putting them on a pedestal. Oh, they're your God. No, absolutely not. Because I'm still fearful of things that I don't know, which I'm sure are there. But like the good Pope said, you got to choose the lesser evil. He is right in that, actually. I don't like the Pope, to be honest. I don't really know him personally, obviously, but he seems kind of sketchy to me. But of course, the Pope is also imperfect, right? So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's also a human being. But he is right when he said, you got to pick the lesser of the two evils. That's how it goes in every situation, by the way. You will always be placed with that. People out there, they're saying, I don't want to be in the position where I'm trying to choose the lesser of the two evils. You claim that you're logical, but did you realize if you're actually logical and realistic, it will always be that way. Those will always be your options. If you're picking two different options, it's always going to be about picking the lesser of the two evils, because not one where there's going to be perfect one, absolutely perfect and sane and trustable. So that's all I got to say about the matter. And yeah.
Just got back home from work and still have a lot to say about the situation that's going on in our country right now. First off, I would like to correct myself. Earlier, I said it was Saturday. No, it was actually yesterday that the second attempted assassination happened. But what I'd like to discuss further on that topic is where we're at as a country right now. Our country has been demoralized. It has. This has been a project that has been happening for quite some time. There's a lot of stories that point to the levels of demoralization. But the most recent one was when a boy, this took place in Springfield, Ohio. So, and it's been on the news. You guys could probably find the story or whatever. So, anyways, Springfield, Ohio. And no, I'm not going to talk about eating cats and all that kind of stuff. It's not about that. So there's a story where a school bus that had children on it. I think it was either a school bus or a regular bus, but it was a bus. And then there's someone's 12-year-old boy was on there. I think he was like 12 or 13. And he got killed because the bus driver crashed it. They found out that the bus driver was a Haitian illegal immigrant. And they had a press conference where the parents spoke out and gave their response to the situation. And the father said, the first thing he said, that was the very first thing he ever said, I wish my son was killed by a 61-year-old white man, bald white man or something like that. It is literally very sad that anybody would start off by saying that. The level of brainwash, the level of demoralization. You know, this has been happening ever since, I don't know, it's like the Bush eras, you know, presidencies and all that. The Clintons came in and started letting the infiltration of the Democrat Party become no longer the party of the workers, but the party of the neocons and the crony capitalists. But anyways, I'm not going to go into that part. But to speak on the facts of the demoralization that is happening more and more and more. It all started by dividing us, racially dividing us. Because if you get people to turn against each other, that makes it so much easier to get away with things, to do anything you want. The ones that are at the top, brainwashing and manipulating the masses. We were dog-kinged when Biden got into office. This is all my opinion, by the way. But I think there's a lot of evidence and proof if you observe patterns and the way that things have happened, how they escalated, how they came to be. We were dog-kinged. If you don't know what the term dog king means, it is an old war strategy. Basically, when when like someone was overthrowing a country, like a group of I think the Vikings did that or something like that. I have to go back into history, but I've read it before. You guys can go ahead and put in the comments too if you know exactly what I'm talking about. But they take over a country, right? They take out their king. They don't actually take, the throne, but instead they put a dog as the king to the people. Or it's also like the same concept as, Caligula's horse, like was a senator. So basically was able to do whatever he wanted and pass things anyway. So, yeah. So that's what happened, having a puppet there that was always on vacation. They were constantly talking about how, Trump was golfing all the time. It's just funny because it's so hypocritical. Biden was literally on vacation majority of his entire term. Always on the beach, always going here and there, and barely give any conference to anybody. So they had to cut his mics off. They had to speak for him. They had to hide him all the time. They're doing the same thing with Kamala. So, but yeah, we're at this point right now. If you want me to be brutally honest, I don't think that they're going to allow Trump to have another presidency. I just don't. The Dick Cheneys, right? The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, BlackRock. There's all these big players. They don't want that. They've got too much skin in the game. And they don't want an outsider to mess up their money pile, you know? So the shooter that they apprehended, allegedly, to our knowledge, was a Ukraine loyalist. Nothing wrong with, wanting to help Ukraine. The problem is Ukraine is losing a lot of people. They're being massacred right now. And you want to know why? Because no one's helping to come up with a peace deal. That's why. No one is trying to. Everyone is trying to continue the war instead of making a deal to stop it. That's what would actually really be a win-win, is if we can make a peace deal. But no. And then Putin recently said that if the US sends long missiles to help aid them, like we do, right? And Biden just signed off on it and okayed it, by the way, as well, then he will start taking retaliation to us. There's already ships on Cuba. There's some around Alaska. Guys, this is a problem because there's a lot of people that are not awake. They're still falling for all the lies from the mainstream, from Hollywood. They're falling for it. They're not waking up to it. I'm not a Trump loyalist either, by the way. You might assume that, and if you want to assume that, go ahead, but I'm not. But what I am saying is that we need to switch on a different path here, and that is definitely not the Democrat path. They have been taken over. It's not the Democrat party that I once knew, that you once knew. Definitely not. It's not the same. Bobby Kennedy Jr. even said so, and he's a part of Kennedy royalty. He's the one that lost his uncle and his father. In my opinion, taken out from the inside. Because Kennedy listened to Eisenhower. Eisenhower's speech talked about the military-industrial complex, talked about the technocratic state. All these things have been warned. But people just want to think it's a conspiracy theory. That's where they get you. That's where they trick you. That's how they, first a covert narcissist. You want to know what a covert narcissist does? And I've read about this, and I've dealt with narcissists in my life. And, I come from a background in my life. My father, he died when I was 10, but looking back at things now as an adult, I recognized, yes, he was very ill, but because of that, he was very narcissistic as well. He had narcissistic tendencies. Not evil. Okay, a lot of times these people are very broken inside. So they do everything to fill a void. I'm going on ranting. But what I'm trying to make a point of is that I have noticed within my own self that I have had tendencies of narcissism within me. In order to know how someone can do that is to have noticed it within yourself at times. You have to question yourself. You have to point out your own reflection, right? And that's being vulnerable. Not something to be proud of, but At least it's better to recognize it and prevent it versus ignoring it. And so many people have such a high level of hypocrisy that they choose to ignore their own narcissism. They don't want to see it, and they want to say everyone else is. But anyways, I'm going back to the covert narcissist, and this is why I wanted to share with you that this term has been used so loosely. And that's why I wanted to make a point that when I say this term, when I say this word, it is not to just throw it around like everyone else does loosely, because it's lost its legitimacy now, because everyone says it. And they used it so much in the media, always constantly saying that word all the time. It's just ridiculous. And that's how they discredit you even more when you try to actually show where it really lies. But a covert narcissist will demoralize you. They will pretend that they're your friend, right? They will pretend like, oh yeah, I'm really here, like emotional manipulation, right? Then, they enjoy that power that they have. I'm talking from the very cynical and sinister side of it. There's extreme levels and then subtle levels and all that stuff. But in the case of the state that our world is and our country is, and the way that the propaganda is a covert narcissist to the extreme. They will demoralize you. They will alienate you. They will threaten you with being shunned. And you won't be a part of the cool crew. And that's why you don't want to speak out against them, because then they will censor you and you will be pushed out. They'll make sure you're silenced. You're never heard. And in doing so, they can also make you feel like the bad guy. And that's kind of what's been happening. The demoralization started happening when they started to stoke the fires of race division. Because once you start to pit people against each other and not notice the humanity in each one of us as bleeding the same, to forget that part of it and only see color, that's when you start the process of demoralization. Because people will start to loathe themselves, self-sabotage, the self-loathing, just like in the incident that happened with the father and what he said about his dead son. It is sad because now the energy of the US is that they're saying, yes, we deserve to be taken out. We deserve to be obliterated. We have so much bad karma. Forgetting that every single country has bad karma. It's not just the US. You can argue how much, how little, how this, how that. The problem here is that when you become to that level, to that extent, and you argue that shows the self-loathing. Instead of recognizing, okay, we're not perfect, but we are not totally evil and bad. We can do something to change these things. Why? Why would you want to commit suicide? But some people do. And you know what? It's not what I want for my children. I won't allow that. And if you have children, I can guarantee you don't want that either. By allowing the fire to be fueled and to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, we are allowing our future to be diminished. We need to come together, and we need to wake up those who don't really understand what's going on. Because you can stay out of it for as long as you want and avoid it, but eventually it will come to your doorstep. You know, the thing is, there is a beauty, yes, of just letting things flow because whatever will be, will be. But at the same time, when you do that, you are making a decision that you have no control over your life. Majority of our lives, yes, there's incidences that we can't control. They just happen. Like, for example, climate. We cannot control the way that the earth changes. She will change regardless of what we do. She's going to go through these changes like a woman that goes on their menstrual cycle. That's just what happens. We can't do anything to stop that. So, but there's still things that we can change. Not everything is out of our control. But do you choose to see that? But anyways, I really hope that we can get out of this, but I really don't. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a nihilist, right? I don't believe in that. Regardless, even if things really do have to collapse, which well, we know financially they're going to, regardless. Whoever becomes the next president is going to be a crisis president. They will be a crisis president because we're already in a crisis. That's just how it is. Does that mean, oh my gosh, my life needs to end? No, we don't think like that. We are strong human beings. We've gone through so much already, and our ancestors have survived for a reason because they were strong and they were able to get through all the crazy stuff that they had to go through. This is nothing. But to us, this is big. And I think that we need to take on the strength of our ancestors, no matter what color, race, or creed that you are. It is time for us to unite together and work against the machine that tries to divide us, because they are getting away with it. They're getting away with it by dividing us. And by dividing us and not sticking up to point out the things that are really happening, it gives them the upper hand if we don't point it out. But that's all I have to say. We just got to keep praying for our country, and we need to stay strong, and we need to be honest with ourselves about what's going on. Not be fearful, but be prepared for what could come our way. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk